Hey guys, it's FanofFans47 here with another update to my camera collection. Now, it's been a while since I made a video like this, so this is going to be a rather large update, so let's go ahead and get started. So first off is my Kodak EasyShare C530. I think I got this at the end of last year. I found it at the thrift store. God knows how much I paid for it because it's so long ago. It was probably like $4 or $5. You can see it's in pretty good condition other than the faded lettering, but it works just fine. Has a very small screen. You can see. This one is 5 megapixels and it records video at 640 by 480 at 15 frames per second with no audio. And next up is my very beat up EasyShare Z612. This thing has all kinds of dents and marks around the lens covering. And you'll notice if I turn it on here, you can see it has some dead pixels on the screen. But other than that, it works completely fine. The dead pixels won't show up in the video, it's just the screen. This one is 6 megapixels and it records video at 640 by 480 at 30 frames per second with stereo sound. So yeah, this is a bridge camera, as you can see. And next up is my EasyShare C195. This one I bought off eBay for I think it was $18 plus shipping. You can see it's in okay condition. It's got a few dents and scuffs here and there, but it works fine. It's got a very big screen and a nice startup sound. This one is 14 megapixels and it records video at 640 by 480 at 30 frames per second, with digital image stabilization. Though that lens is a bit slow to retract. And last of the Kodaks is my EasyShare CX7430. This one I also got off of eBay, listed for parts. I did a few repairs to this and it's working perfectly. The first thing I did was put some foil on the battery terminals because they didn't have a firm enough connection. So this camera was thinking all fresh batteries were dead. But then the lens was also stuck, which was an easy fix. I just stuck in a little slotted screwdriver to sort of loosen it up and pull it out. And it seems to be working fine ever since. I'll go ahead and turn it on here to show you. You can see the lens does come out completely normally. It works just fine. This one is 4 megapixels and it records video at 640 by 480 at 10 frames per second. I think the battery on this is a little low, so it's a bit sluggish. Now moving on to the Nikons, the first of which is my Coolpix L1. This one I also got off of eBay for I think it's around 14 or 15 bucks, free shipping. It was listed for parts, but it works completely fine. There you go. Has a few dead pixels on the screen, but it's not detrimental to operation. It's 6.2 megapixels and it records video at 640 by 480 at 15 frames per second. So yeah, there's that. And next is my Coolpix S220. Now there's a bit of a story behind this. I got this camera while I was trying to buy the L1. I was trying to buy the L1 from a different seller at first, and something happened to it. I can't remember what happened, but the seller was like, okay, here's the deal. I'll give you a refund, or I can give you a refund and give you a good deal on another camera that I have on hand. I was like, okay, I'll take the deal. And the deal just happened to be this S220, and then I bought the L1 from a different seller. So yeah. And you'll see later in the video why I specifically went for the L1. You can see this one works just fine. There you go. This one is 10 megapixels and it records video at 640 by 480 at 30 frames per second with image stabilization. And the last of the Nikons is my Coolpix L110. This one is kind of broken. The entire shutter button assembly doesn't work because of a corroded ribbon cable, so the zoom doesn't work and the shutter button doesn't work. Everything else works. I can scroll through the menus and everything and it turns on. So, yeah. So I guess there's that. But I can't really take pictures with it. It's just a zoomless camcorder, basically. As a temporary solution, I have a bash script that will take the first frame of the video files and convert it into a JPEG. But even still, the resulting pictures are rather poor. But yeah. This one is 12 megapixels. I think it's actually 12.1. And it records video at 1280 by 720 at 30 frames per second with OIS. Moving on to the Sonys. The first of the two is my CyberShot DSC W830. This one is 20.1 megapixels and it records video at 1280 by 720 at 30 frames per second. So there you go. You can see the lens scopes out quite far on this one because it does have 8 times optical zoom. And there's hair all over this thing. This was the first ever camera I bought from Goodwill. I think I found it for around 10 bucks. I'd say that's a pretty good deal. So yeah, there's that. And the last of the two Sonys is my Bloggy MHS FS1. I've been meaning to get my hands on this model for a while, so I'm glad I finally have one. I bought this one off eBay for 10 bucks. You can see it's in perfect working condition. You see? This is basically the same thing as the Bloggy Touch, except it only has 4 gigabytes of memory, and it has physical buttons. So yeah. I do prefer the physical buttons over the clunky touchscreen though. So yeah, this one is 5.3 megapixels, and it records video at 1920 by 1080 at 30 frames per second progressive. So yeah. And moving on to the Fujifilms, there's actually quite a few of them. The first of the three is my FinePix 1400 zoom. This one I kind of had to redneck repair with my famous foil method on the battery compartments, but it seemed to do the trick. Go ahead and turn it on here. And then in order to make the screen come on, you have to push this display button. There we go. Yeah, you can see it works fine. This one occasionally glitches out and doesn't save the files correctly, but there's not really much I can do about that. It's really just a software bug. This one is, I believe it's 2 megapixels? No, it's 1.3 megapixels. Very low res. And it does not take videos. So yeah, this thing's actually quite large. And next up is my FinePix AX655. This one is 16 megapixels and it records video at 1280 by 720 at 30 frames per second. You can see it also works fine. This one I bought off eBay for around 15 bucks. Listed for parts, but again, works completely fine. So yeah, there's the lens. This lens has a, I think it uses the same motor as the C195. And last of the Fujifilms is my FinePix J50. This one I think I won this from an auction. No, I just bought this straight off of eBay. I think it was around 8 bucks and free shipping. So yeah, I'd say that's a pretty good deal. Again, listed for parts and works completely fine. Goes to show that people are constantly giving away perfectly good products, which kind of drives me crazy, but at the same time, it's good for me to take advantage of. This one is 8.2 megapixels and it records video at 320 by 240 at 30 frames per second. So yeah, and only one Polaroid today. My very lonesome A530. You can see this thing is incredibly skinny. Go ahead and turn it on here. Didn't hold it long enough. There we go. You can see it has a fixed lens. It is 5 megapixels and it records video at 640 by 480 at 30 frames per second. It can actually go up to 10 megapixel interpolation, as you can see. So that's cool, I guess. And I'll go ahead and show you the lens shutter closing. I don't know if you could see that. It's kind of hard to see. But yeah, there's that. And next up, I have a couple of Vivitar digital camcorders. The first of the two is my DVR 426 HD. This one was also listed on eBay for parts, but I was able to easily repair it by using my, again, famous battery foil method. Just had a little bit of corrosion to take care of. You can see it works completely fine, but it does have a very tiny screen. It does take HD 1280 by 720 video, and I honestly don't remember what the photo res is. Let's see. Oh, it's 3 megapixels. Okay. So yeah. I like that shutdown splash screen, by the way. So yeah, and this is one of my very few purple camcorders. Actually, it's my only purple camcorder. The S860 died on me, unfortunately, so I think that's the only purple camera in my collection. Actually, I take that back. The 7122 is purple. Or, no, not the 71. The 7022. And the last of the two Vivitars is my DVR 620 HD. This one's more of like a dark brown color. It's kind of interesting. This one also works, but this one was sold as tested. Go ahead and hold the button here. There we go. It doesn't have a startup sound. I don't think this thing even has an internal speaker. But yeah, this one is also 720p. By the way, both of these are variable frame rate video. And for photos, it's 5 megapixels. Yeah, this one's a little bit newer. So yeah, the screen looks really, it's coming out really weird on my camera. I don't know why that is. It must not match the refresh rate. So that's unique. Wonder if it runs at 50 Hertz. And next up, we have a couple of Canons. The first of the two is my PowerShot A200. I got this at a flea market recently for 20 bucks. A little overpriced in my opinion. This one is 2 megapixels, and it does not, actually it does record video in 60-second segments at 240p. So yeah, there you go, you can see it works fine. Definitely a unique lens mechanism though. So yeah. I think that's the oldest Canon that I own so far. And the last of the Canons, I actually just got this a couple days ago. Actually, I got it last night. This is my partially broken PowerShot A75, and you'll see why when I turn it on. Might not be too obvious at first. Yeah, notice how the video is kind of like flickering and stuff. Yeah, right there. This has a failing CCD sensor, so I might try to replace that at some point because I have some other cameras I'm using for parts. This one's 3.2 megapixels and it records video at 640 by 480 at, I believe it's 15 frames per second for 30 seconds. So yeah, bit stingy on the recording time there. And next we have a couple of HPs. The first of the two is my Photosmart 720. This one is 3.3 megapixels, and don't let that zoom deceive you. It only has 3 times optical zoom. They're including the digital zoom there. And it records video at 320 by 240 at 15 frames per second. Go ahead and turn it on here. It does have a startup sound, but the speaker is so weak on this thing you can hardly hear it. And then to turn on the display, you hit this button over here. And you can see it works completely fine. This one I got off of eBay from a Goodwill seller. I think it's around 10 bucks. So yeah, there's that. Gosh, this thing is so slow. That's old technology for you. And we have just a couple more left. I feel like this video has been dragging on forever. The last of the HPs is my Photosmart R717. I just got this one a couple days ago. This one I won from an eBay auction. I think it's around 6 bucks. It's 6.2 megapixels and it records video at 320 by 240 resolution. I forget the frame rate though. Go ahead and turn it on here. You can see it works fine. This one was also sold for parts. But yeah, I don't know why people are constantly getting rid of perfectly good products. Yeah, I mean, I suppose people are switching to cell phones, but still, these can be valuable. And they, at least in my opinion, they still take better pictures than the average smartphone. Oh, didn't turn off. Switch's a little dodgy sometimes. There it goes. Has a very fast retracting lens. And last but not least, I have this little, or rather, quite big, unknown generic 36 megapixel digital camcorder with infrared night vision, and it did come with a wide angle lens. You can see. Go ahead and turn it on here. The batteries that this came with were actually faulty. I actually had to order a new battery for this, but you can see it works fine. By the way, the 36 megapixels is only interpolated. The actual sensor resolution, I believe, is only 2 megapixels. And it is full HD 1080p at 30 frames per second. So, yeah. Definitely not as good as, like, the Handycam that I'm recording on now, but it's still adequate for budget users. I mean, I've had no problems with this thing, and I think it records adequate video. There we go. And there's just a couple more things I want to mention before ending this video. First of which, I came up with a more permanent solution for repairing this F126. I don't know if you remember seeing this in the December 2022 update. So I kind of fashioned on a battery compartment from an old camera that died. and it just happened to fit perfectly. Well, not really, kind of goes down a little bit, but it fits perfectly widthwise. And I just stuck some foil in there in just the right pattern, so it would think that the battery case is on. I'll go ahead and turn it on here, show you that it does work. So yeah, what do you know? That's what a little redneck engineering can get you. So yeah. There we go. And now I'm going to go ahead and introduce a project that I've started doing in my camera collection. I'm calling it Project NIñEZ. And for those who don't know, NIñEZ actually means childhood in Spanish. I'm not calling it Project Childhood because that just kind of sounds lame. But basically this project is sort of a quest for me. I'm going out to see how many digital cameras I can find and get back that I used to own during my childhood. So I'm going to go over the ones that I've found so far. So the first one that I ended up finding was this one right here, the AX655. This one I owned for a while back in 2014 and 2015. And then after a while it just took a hard fall and jammed the lens mechanism. But I'm glad to have it back in the collection. It's definitely nostalgic for me. So yeah. Then after that, I picked up the L1, which was, I believe it was my second ever digital camera. The L1 that I had before, but I think it was back in 2011. It was a gift from my uncle. It used to be his. But yeah, another nice one to have back. This one, I really like the startup sound on this one, so sometimes I find myself just keep clicking the power button. It's kind of funny. And then after that one, I believe I got, pretty sure it was this Polaroid right here. Yeah, it was the A530. This was my first ever digital camera. Now, the thing is, with these cameras, there are actually two different versions. There's the first and there's the second generation. I was hoping to get a first generation because that's the one that I had as a kid. This one turned out to be a second generation, which has a completely different UI, and it has some different physical features as well, like the Polaroid logo's on the top, while the first gen is on the bottom. The first gen has a rigid macro switch instead of a smooth one. It has a square shutter button instead of a round one, and it also was missing the lens, the automatic lens cover. So yeah, this one is quite a bit different. I wish I would have noted that before I went and got this thing, but you know, it's close enough. I mean, I still hope to get my hands on a first gen at some point, but for now this will have to do. And then recently I came across this right here, the C195. This one was probably one of the nicest cameras I'd ever owned as a child, and I think I had it for like 3 or 4 years, and I took tons and tons and tons of pictures with this thing, and I just loved it. So I'm really happy that I have this again. Basically, this camera was basically my entire childhood, so I'm really glad to have it back in the collection. Yeah. So there you go. So that's going to conclude this camera collection update video, and definitely look out for some reviews and comparisons in the future. I think I am going to start taking requests for those. I plan on making sort of like a spreadsheet where you can choose like different cameras to for me to review side by side. I think that'd be a really cool concept, and I think it'd be really engaging for viewers. But definitely let me know what you think of the concept, and who knows, maybe I'll decide not to do it. Maybe not enough people will be interested, but I'm hoping that I'll get to do it. And for now, that'll be it. Thank you for watching.